up, y'all? This is Common.
You got the rhythm right here.
DJ MV.
Yo, it's Ghostface.
Are you checking out The Beat with Ari Melber?
The Beat, baby.
We about to light one up Ari.
You know why? Because he speak English.
The whole Wu-Tang is behind me. Yeah. Bong, bong, bong. And this is The Beat.
Well, let's get into examples. I mean, you see DaBaby out with a big album. He's got his face mask on the cover. You know, everyone talks about role models and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I thought that alone was a striking choice. The president's out here disagreeing with his own experts in CDC and saying wear a mask or don't. But you got DaBaby and Roddy Ricch both were out there in their own kind of funny ways, flexing with masks on. And what do you think about the way the culture because the culture's so fast, the way it is like rolling this experience into life and art?
As far as what the culture is just with this whole pandemic,
like,
or
when you see DaBaby put out an album with his mask on, I mean that's obviously a recent choice. Couldn't have done that a month ago. Have a medical mask on the album cover.
Yeah, that's what it is. I mean, hip hop always has been about current events. You know what I mean? Like it kind of documents the time. So, you know, once we're getting out of this, maybe a year or so from now, we're gonna look back and like, you remember 2020 when everyone was rocking the mask and DaBaby and Roddy Ricch had the covers on. It's just kind of like a time capsule. It's kind of like when I listen to the song "Banned from TV" and Nature, who opens up the track. He talks about choking people like I'm Spreewell. Like I remember when Pete Spreewell choked his coach in '97. So it's like it marked the time when that happened, and this is no different. You know, like. This is a year no one's ever going to forget, and sometimes art reflects that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you think, though, with something that also is really big in today's acts is concerts are such a lifeline.
Yeah.
And if we get, you know, on the news side, we're covering this, it's like, what does phased reopening look like? Okay, what does the full reopening look like eventually? And we've got other countries where you can see examples, which is interesting, right?
Yeah.
But we could be well into a better mode, hopefully, and you still aren't going to see people wanting to rush to a 10,000 person show.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, even if they said tomorrow, okay, everything's back to normal, I'm kind of apprehensive. I don't think everyone's going to be eager to go to Madison Square Garden or the Barclays Center to be around so many people. Like, there's going to be some trepidation out there. So I think it's going to have to be a slow rollout. You know, we got to start us small. Maybe like here in New York City, we have a venue called SOBs where it holds maybe like 300 people or so. But maybe we just do it small before we do big venues, because I know for sure I definitely don't want to go to, you know, the Barclays or Madison Square before an event. I don't want to do it too prematurely.
But is that just because you're generally a shook person?
I'm a shook one? Are you calling me a shook one?
I mean, or does the like experience change? Like a Travis Scott mosh pit would be the fastest way to like really spread the Rona around, right?
Hell yeah.
Right. But is there like something in between where you're like, well, okay, what does the in between look like? Does it, because for those of us who, this is part of why you want to be alive, you don't want to just say, okay, we're canceling everything that we ever used to do. I mean, obviously there's a timeline for it, but is there a way where you have outdoor shows and people really do keep some level of distance, or is that, do you think, not realistic?
It's realistic, but I don't think right now. I think that's a conversation we could have probably 4 or 3 months from now, and see how it goes. Maybe we need to start off small with some meet and greets first. Go back to the old school, just having people meet their fans like how they did at like the Tower Records or the Virgin Megastore, and start off small and see how it works out like that. Hopefully,
yeah. I'm throwing in one of the questions just from Trusted Nine that we're discussing here, which is sort of about that, talking about the live component, which is so key. Who are the artists, though, right now, big picture, that you think are like hottest right now in this period?
Right now, to be honest, after the last 30 days, I feel like it's up for grabs to almost anybody. I think, you know, Drake is hot always because of the Tootsie Slide, the Baby's doing his thing. Anyone that has a challenge going on. I feel like the hardest part right now is keeping your interest level up. You know what I mean? Because the music is always going to be there, but it's always about keeping people's interest. Like West Side Gun, I think, is doing a great job at doing that. Like someone said, D-Nice. D-Nice is the hottest DJ in the world right now. If you want to be honest, he's the biggest artist in the world. Who would have thunk it?
Yeah, it's funny because with the whole thing with quote unquote celebrity DJs, which is sort of a, you know, a broad term, but it's like obviously you have people who are known for more than one thing, and they're DJs, but they're more than that. Ebro is a radio host DJ, right? Or at least you're listening to him on the radio. Envy, obviously. Khaled is making music. Then there's that next level where people like you and people who care about this might know a certain DJ, but not everyone's going to know the name.
Right.
And D Nice was like that. I mean, I got to talk to him recently, and I was like, wow, so Michelle Obama, how'd that come about? And he was like, oh, well, I've also been DJing for the Obamas for years. And I was
That's
like,
true.
okay. Well, if you're both of the Obamas DJs, you're already very special. But talk to us a little bit about like the way that he really in a positive, like organic way, not in like a cloud chasing way, but like provided in a way. And then all of a sudden, I mean, his follower count, his awareness nationally, everything blew up like more than ever, but he's been in this game for decades.
I think it's a testament to doing the work. I don't think he set out to, get covered in the New York Times or, get covered on MSNBC or whatever these news outlets. I think he's just doing his job. And I tell people that all the time. When you do your job, the results will come. And that's what he does. This is what DJ D Nice does Monday through Sunday, So it's different than no other day. It's just like another day in the office for him. And I think he's that much of a great DJ that it took something like this for everyone to realize and to showcase it on a global scale. So
yeah, that's a really good, and that's also where the difference between being in a position where when you get that next level of that shine, a lot of people who are in it go, you deserve it, I'm so happy for you, rather than, oh, you skipped steps or this was a one-hit wonder type thing.
Right.
I want to shout out some of our comments. Sam Sanford saying, what about Versus? Who's going up against Pharrell the Neptunes? Someone was shouting out Rico Nasty. Weissman 74 says Swizz Beatz and Timberland has broke Instagram.
It did.
And Missy BDC in here saying, do the work, being grateful and humble. I think that's about D Nice. So I always want to shout out our folks who are coming in, Wayne. And if people have questions, put them in the comments. If it's a really good question, I might serve it up to Brian. And if it sucks, I won't. So how about that? Well, obviously, sooner or later, we're gonna get into Drake.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know that you have the OVO owl tattooed on your body 69 times.
You want to see it? Oh, okay.
People don't even know.
This is a family. This is a family stream.
So I am. I'm a big fan of Drake. I'm also very interested in Drake, and I also always say Drake represents all of what it is to be in the top of music right now.
Yeah.
So conversations about Drake, they're intense. They could get emotional, partly because we're just actually also talking about what it means to do music now and all the trade-offs and all of the way. Tootsie Slide went number one. Does that count for you, or does it feel a little bit on the coronavirus gimmick?
I mean, yeah, it counts. It's a record, and it's not my favorite Drake record, but it serves a purpose. Shout out to Rob Markman, Genius, and checking. Like, it serves a purpose. Like,
Rob Markman from Genius in here. What's up?
Yeah, man. That guy's rich as hell, man. But that's another conversation for another day. But it serves a purpose. And, yeah, I think it's good for the time, and people say it's a gimmick. It could be gimmicky, Hip-hop is a gimmick. MF Doom, he wears a mask. Everything in hip-hop is a gimmick.
Right.
So I don't fault Drake for that.
And then
it's not my favorite record, though.
Not your favorite. Let's get into the house. The
house
working on for you.
Hi, Drake. Drake is here.
Let me see where we go.
Hi, Drake.
Is he? I don't see it.
He's here. I just see him.
Yeah?
At the right time.
All right. Well, we're talking Drake, and obviously you can jump in anytime. We're talking about the house, and this is my thing. I read the entire Architectural Digest article. It was thoughtful. The house reflects a dream. People building their dreams. The money's there.
Yes.
So if you made the money, you can spend it or not spend it. The idea that because people see you spending it changes the class structure. He has the money, and successful people do. What I thought was interesting in the article was, okay, this reflects building towards a dream, which is something you and he discussed in your end of the year interview.
Yeah.
How do people interpret and understand his success? I'm curious what you thought about all that, because obviously by the time the pictures came out, we're living through all this. Yeah,
it's a dream come true. Like he said in our interview with him on the Rap Radar podcast, he used to, to cruise around that neighborhood and dream of having a crib there, and he actually did it. And it's testament to his hard work. I think the space kind of reflects the boyhood dream. For years, you have these lofty expectations of wanting to take care of your mom, get the big house, and he's achieved everything that he can in rap. So I think, why not treat yourself to a crib that reflects the success that you've had in this game, the dominance. So I loved it, man. Going to the crib, Drake, that's a nice crib, man.
Now we got to get into that part, which is you've been in there, obviously.
Yeah.
We saw that interview. Does it look like those pictures in the digest?
Yeah. I mean, first off, when you walk in, it's like he has like armed security at the front and whatnot. So, anyone just can't just get in. It's called the embassy. You walk in and just like, wow, okay. This place is bigger than my entire block. It like takes up a city block almost, and it really engulfs you. You know what I'm saying? It's like, wow, your eyes just wander. I'm like, okay, I can see why nobody would want to leave here. Like this is nice. And like the bathroom played Tupac and all that good stuff. I was like, yo, this shit is crazy. So,
well, and how important this goes to what is so big in all music, definitely hip hop, is dreams. What does it mean to look at fulfilling a dream? Because, Kanye has that old line, the jet skis, I admit it, we rented them, talking about an early video.
Yeah.
And a lot of artists talk about the leaning into a lifestyle and a dream in the lyrics, in the look, and all that before you get it. And then when you actually get it, some of them recede. I mean, I don't think we've seen much of Jay and Beyonce's living quarters.
Yeah, it's interesting because I didn't think that Drake would be so willing to share that with the world. You know what I'm saying? Because he's for the most part, he's a reserved guy. So I was surprised that, for him to showcase that to everybody. But hell, if I had a 46,000 square foot crib, I'd show it to the world too. Wouldn't you?
I don't know. I go back and forth because I think for artists it's so complex. Here's the other thing. We ask artists to show us so much. Tell us who you are.
Yeah.
Tell us about your heart. Tell us about your life. Then sometimes, especially on the internet, when they start sharing it more, whatever, then people turn and say, I don't like that. I don't want to see that, or you're self-centered. And it's sort of like we've been asking, and I mean that collectively, because every time we click on not just social media, but when we click on all the stuff on the internet that is about lifestyle, right? Then who are we kidding? You know what I mean? So we ask for so much from them, and I think about that with a lot of different artists. Rob Markman is in here.
Yes.
I got to keep it real. If it's IG Live, he says, "You said I'm rich. Ask b.dot how many Rolexes he got."
Come on, Rob.
Rob trying to write questions, and you know what? I'm not serving that question up. I read it, but I'm not serving it up because that's not really part of this interview. But that's what Rob had to say. And by the way, so do you and Drake have a system where when you're talking about him on one of these, he just comes right in for a second?
I didn't know. I don't know. Champagne Poppy's still here. But
represent.
He's a good guy, man. Like we talk hip hop, and he's someone I can trust. We can trust each other. We share ideas. I keep it real with him about the records I like, the records I don't like. So it's all good, man.
So
he knows the kind of records that I like. So.
Well, my thing I was talking about this week with someone. My view on when it comes to Drake today in the world is if you're under 40, there are two types of people.
Mm-hmm.
Those who are Drake fans and those who are Drake fans in denial.
You're a classic Drake fan?
And that's it. And what I mean is you could go to any big gathering, wedding, club, and people love Drake. They're out, they're talking about it. Then you got people on the walls or people who tell you when you're out hanging out, oh, no, I'm not about that. That's not my lyricist. And then when the song comes on, they're out on the dance floor.
Nah, like Drake's records, Drake is one of the greatest of all time. Like, definitely within the top 10. If you want to say top 5, I'm okay with that too. He makes music. He's been the most dominant guy for the last 10 years. Like, let's just put your biases to the side. Yeah, there you go, Drake, laughing.
Well, there we go. Champagne popping with the laughing emoji.
But I'm not just saying this because he's here and he's I've said this privately, I've said this publicly.
100%.
He's
and
the most He's the most dominant guy for the last 10 years.
What I'm saying about the split, I've said that before when he's not here, but what I'm saying is you can take other artists who are more obtuse, and you could say, I respect Talib Kweli, but he's not my guy, or I don't love it. And Michael Skolnick asking, Drake is in this room. Yes, that's correct, Michael, and welcome. Shut up. And then when the Talib song comes on, they're still chilling. They're talking to their friends. They're not into it, right? But like Started from the Bottom comes on, Worst Behavior comes on. We could name 20 more, and people, everyone goes out. And that's hits. And it fascinates me, because I guess I'm always just a student of culture and how people think, is that you can be at a level where then you're so big that some people can't be down with it. It's more cool to say I'm not. I'm somebody else.
Yeah, that's the kind of guys that look like me without the quarantine and have chew sticks in their mouth and the girls don't talk to them. Like, you don't even have to be a Drake fan to know Drake's music. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those records where it's like, he's one of those artists rather, where it's like, wherever you go, the supermarket, you know, you're listening to the radio, you're at a club, they're going to play his music. It's inescapable. So, you know, you're just going to be the guy in his basement just talking about, I hate Drake and fuck. Like, come on, man. Like, you kidding me? The guy's been the most dominant rapper for the last 10 years. He's like, when did Drake fall off? When? I don't know.
Yeah.
So, now I'm not just saying this because he's watching. I'm just being honest. I would say this if he wasn't. So.
Well, and someone in the comments talking about Drake's mattress cost $400,000. I will say, I saw that Complex story today. I have not personally fact-checked it, but if my mattress is $400,000, I bet I would love it too, you know?
Word. I sleep on the airbed.
Now someone's getting up on you. I'm going to read this.
Okay.
Busy Cupcake.
Ready,
and you know what? There's no better cupcake than a busy cupcake. That's a cupcake that's like on their phone, running around, taking meetings. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Keeping that frosting moving. They say, what supermarket do you go to where they play Drake on the overhead? I want to be there.
When I go to down the block, C-Town, you kidding me? Right in South Jamaica, Queens, where I'm located. You kidding me? Like,
respect.
Come on, man. Like, you don't have to be a Drake fan to know Drake's music. I always tell people that. And if he's not in his top 10, you're just lying to yourself, man. Come on. Because like I don't know too many artists. I know everyone's talking recently about who makes hits and things like that. I think Drake can honestly perform 2-3 hours straight. No breaks, and people would know the records word for word in any kind of environment. So, yeah,
and that's so. I mean, that goes to the flip side. The undercurrent of, again, and I got to talk to you about it once, but not in a public setting. So here we're talking about it. The undercurrent of the exchange in your interview with him, where he was open up, and he hasn't opened up as much as late, was his view that. For whatever reasons, people are not rooting him on as an African-American artist who excelled or someone who broke a barrier or hit that level. And he said he's not even worrying about it. Daytron. He said he's not even worried about it, but obviously by bringing it up, that was his point. And when I had Joe Budden on the beat, I asked him about it. And he said, well, he'd never even heard Drake refer to himself publicly as a black artist on the regular. I'm sure somewhere along you could find an example. But that point, too, that if Jay-Z or Kendrick were the artists of the decade, that they would be counted differently. What did you think about him, that being on his mind? Because I thought that was a very interesting point.
Yeah, he said it on, I think it was Diplomatic Community or Omeretta. It was one of those freestyles. I forget which one, what he says. Black excellence when it's me is not the same though, and I think it bothers him because he's a Canadian, light-skinned, half black artist. You know, he doesn't look like a Kendrick. He doesn't look like Puff, a dark-skinned rapper. You know, and for whatever reason, it's stupid and it's ignorant, but I feel like he doesn't get the same props as his peers for whatever reason. And he is a black artist, and I don't know. I think it bothers him that when I said it wrong, Omeretta? No, sorry. I think it bothers him when he doesn't get those props like his peers does, because he gives back. You know, he helps out a lot of people in his community and in the city of Toronto. So I think it bothers him. And I think it is colorism that exists within the black community And it troubles me at times because I'm like, yo, what do you want him to do? You know, like why isn't he not getting the same props and love as his peers?
So when you talk about it as color, and again, this is what we deal with in the news. I'm taking this seriously, respectfully. These are difficult nuances to explore, but you know, we can do that. You're referring to the view by some that literally how, quote, dark or light someone is who is African American or black will then be counted. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's like in the black community, this colorism. It's the stupidest shit, but it's like, you know, you're too black for the white kids, too white for the black kids. It's like cultural identity. Like, which side do you identify with? You know, and I think sometimes it's a struggle for people like that. I don't know what it's like because I'm a dark-skinned black man, you know, so I don't know. But, you know, for him being biracial, I'm sure that's a struggle for him. You know, they have that saying, the tragic mulatto, and I'm sure that a lot of light-skinned blacks have to deal with that. And it's a real thing because it's like, okay, oh, you're a light-skinned Jewish white mom, you're not black enough. So a lot of times I feel like a lot of light-skinned, not saying Drake specifically, but a lot of times a lot of light-skinned blacks have to overcompensate for their blackness to prove, hey, I am down with you guys. I share the same struggles. And it's ignorant, stupid. So I just think that for whatever reason, he doesn't get the same props as, you know, his contemporaries. It does bother him at times.
Yeah, and the lyrics obviously engage that, and a lot of different lyrics do. What you're discussing, he's coming from a level of success where it may play out a little differently, but you know, he has the lines about Michael Jackson and his skin tone versus Jackson. He has the lines about basically, you know, I'm thinking of the line about taking you to Cheesecake Factory. You know, I'm
like
not
cheesecake, man. At the light skin.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
and
it's
all
a stereotype. It's a stereotype of the black community. That, you know, if you're light skinned, you're sensitive, you're more in touch with your feelings. And, you know, sometimes stereotypes can be true. But, you know, that's like a kind of like a running joke in the black community, but it's ignorant, you know. So I think that's why he made that line. Also, you know, there's this thing that light skinned blacks are more conceited, they're all into themselves. So it's just stupid.
But it's a cultural context that's interesting to talk about, particularly if we're trying to engage it earnestly, right? I mean, so much of what is, you know, and people love to troll. People love to just, oh, I got you, I upset you, whatever. But it's like the music is engaging it, the fans and people who care about it are engaging it, right? And it's a level of conversation that sometimes isn't in the mainstream discussion as much, right? And it's cultural. We're not speaking at the granular level of how is the Civil Rights Act of 65 in force, right? That's a granular legal whatever discussion. But then there's the larger context people are operating in and feeling those pressures, etc. On a more goofy note, never forget when Kanye said, quote, got a light-skinned friend looks like Michael Jackson. And
dark-skinned friend
looks like, end quote, not my quote, that's his, but he was obviously in his goofy, and that's old Kanye, early Kanye, but he was goofing with the same thing you're talking about.
Yeah, it exists. It exists, and hopefully it could go away sooner than later, but I don't know, man. I don't know. Someone said, "We're talking this mixed company, please." Oh, sorry. I think the people say I'm speaking too much.
No, you're. How could that be? You're being interviewed. The best part, being interviewed, whether it's on live TV or in live IG or anywhere else, panel, the best part is it's your turn the whole time.
Hey, we'll do it live.
You know what I'm saying? The worst part is if you start getting hit with too many questions and then your mind's racing and you're thinking, did I give the right answer? Then I got another one and it's weird. But the best part is you can't talk too much because I asked to interview you, man.
Okay.
Now you said earlier talking about where people fit in, talking about Drake, top 10, top 5.
Yeah.
He said, I know I said I'm top 5, but I'm top 2.
But not 2.
Who's the other person?
Top 2, Jay-Z, man. Sean Carter. Elliot has this line that he always says in interviews, and he's right. My partner Elliot Wilson. He always says, "If Jay-Z isn't the best, you're just telling me who your favorite is." It's the truth. I think you just leave it at that. Like, how can Jay-Z not be the best to ever do it?
That's how I've always felt. You know, I feel like if Jay-Z were the guy down the corner, you know, that you saw some local freestyle in Brooklyn, and that's all, however far he made it, you'd still be like, whoa, right? Like, this is my guy. And that's how I feel, even though he's so huge. And I think with Jay-Z is very interesting lyrically because his lyrics, some of them are so dense, but he's gotten so big, particularly the last 10 years, you know, which again, for him is, let's not forget, that was from 40 to 50.
Because it's crazy when you think about it.
But in the last 10 years with what he was able to do, particularly in 07, 08, politically with Obama, when you think about him and Michelle at the Obama inaugural and those things, I'm not talking about within music now. I'm talking about how big he got nationally, culturally, everyone.
Yeah.
And then the music that he's done since then has been so, you know, just so evolved.
Yeah.
So that's how I feel about that. But yeah, so that's that reference. Okay. So when
he's
we
probably watching on his Finstagram right now, so I don't know.
So how much Finsta do you think he does? How does he stay current?
He's people think like Jay is like some sort of alien. He be watching. Like, he watches things. Like, sometimes he might send a tweet to me and be like, yo, how did you see that? Or like he might screenshot like a live. I'm like, yo, what did you
Really?
I'm like, okay.
So that's some James Comey shit. When Comey was running the FBI, he had like a fake Twitter account. So what you would call like the Finsta for Twitter. I don't know if there's an, and
yeah, Jay got the burner accounts.
Yeah, exactly. And then you'd hear stories about Comey saw this or that tweet or was mad about this or that tweet. And in that situation, you're not just an artist. You're like, you're running the FBI. You're trying to stop all the terrorism. What are you doing? Crawling around Twitter reading criticism. So it's a
but every artist is like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, right. I think it's cool that they're not actively, like, I wouldn't want to see Beyonce on Instagram Live or Kendrick Lamar in, you know, debating someone on Twitter. I like the mystery of it. Like, you know what I mean? Keep it like separate between church and state. But trust me, they're very much aware. Like, Drake was in here. Who knew? He's watching.
Yeah, that's wild. Well, why is that? I mean, there was this old saying, I think it was a singer who said it, I'm blanking on her name, who said, nobody went up to Van Gogh and said, when's your next Starry Night coming? And True. We have this, art is old. Art is one of the oldest things we have.
Right.
Because before all this, people were dancing, banging on drums, and passing stories from generation to generation through song, through things you could remember. Now we're in this weird time. Obviously, with COVID and everything else, we're in a tough time right now explicitly, but more broadly, we're in a time where it's like you have more choices and temptation to look at stuff, and it's like, yeah, to your point, like someone who's at that artist level, like that Kendrick level, you're like, you shouldn't be stressing this or whatever. Yeah,
I mean, I'm sure artists are sensitive about this shit, like Erykah Badu once said, right? So they want to make sure, they want to do temperature checks from time to time, see what the people are saying, how they feeling about them. But for me, I personally don't like it. I like my artists like superheroes. I want them, in my mind, they're better than me. They're more successful than me. They live, high in the hills. They come down from Mount Olympus when they want to. Like, that's the way I like my artists. So, I mean, granted, in this day and age, I know that everyone has to stay connected to their fans and things like that.
Well, Brian, was it not 50 Cent who said, "You're not like me"?
You're not like me.
You get hit on the block, you're not like me.
Exactly. You run into cops, you're not like me. So I like the idea of like you're not regular. You know what I mean? Like, don't be regular. Like, preserve your celebrity.
Yeah. So then but even if you're drawing that out as a potential evolution, that's something that has to come to an artist over time, because they're going to start out proving themselves and hustling, and then there's that evolution. I mean, it's like, take Beyonce, someone who I'm fascinated with as a musician and an entrepreneur and a visionary. I mean, we all know multiple levels. In my work in the news, I would love to interview her.
Yeah,
she doesn't do really most interviews anymore.
Right, because she doesn't have to. But she's also grandfathered in. She's been in business for 20 years. So she has the luxury to not do interviews if she wants to. So it's different. I think there's definitely levels to it. So she's one of the exceptions to the rule. So.
Yeah. Shout outs to a couple comments.
Yeah, shout out
looking at
I'm getting a lot of love in here.
I'm looking at some questions. Say again?
I said I'm getting a lot of love in here, man. That's weird. I don't get love. I get hate.
Well, good. Now, Q&A for those joining us. I'm with Brian B.dot Miller from MTV and many other things. And this is Ari Melber from MSNBC. And we've had a lot of great people up watching in the comments, including Daytwan, Michael Skolnick, other people I'm forgetting, and also Champagne Poppy making a personal verified appearance.